Though the seas threaten, they are merciful. The hard toil which Prospero had set the Prince of Naples did not last long, and when the magician saw that the young people loved each other sincerely, he put an end to the trial, and bade them be happy together. To give them pleasure and show them some proof of his magic powers, he summoned a troop of beautiful spirits: Iris, Ceres, Juno, some water nymphs and various reapers, who sang sweet songs to them and danced graceful dances. But the moment of Caliban's plot was approaching. Prospero dismissed the spirits and began to prepare for punishing conspirators. Sending Ferdinand and Miranda to wait for him in his cell, he bade Ariel fetch some glistening apparel and hang it up on a line near, in order to serve as a bait to catch the thieves. His plan succeeded. Caliban, Stefano and Trinculo soon appeared, all wet from the stagnant pool into which they had been lured by Ariel's music.
"Pray you, tread softly, that the blind mole may not hear a footfall. We are now near his cell," said Caliban. "O King Stefano, O Pia, O worthy Stefano, look what a wardrobe is here for you," cried Trinculo, catching hold of the garments hanging on the line. "Let it alone, you fool, it is but trash," said Caliban.
"Put off that gown, Trinculo," said Stefano, equally greedy in his turn.
"By this hand, I'll have that gown." Your grace shall have it," said Trinculo submissively. "Why do you waste time on this rubbish?" entreated Caliban. "Let us do the murder first. If Prospero awakens, he will punish us cruelly for this."
"You be quiet, monster," said Stefano rudely, and he and Trinculo went on helping themselves to the fine clothes which Ariel had cunningly displayed. "Come, monster, take what we leave."
"I will have none of them," declared Caliban. "We shall lose our time, and if Prospero catches us, he will change us all into barnacles or apes."
"Help us to carry these away, or I'll turn you out of my kingdom. Go to, carry this," commanded Stefano.
"And this,"
added Trinculo, and they began to load poor Caliban with their spoils. Suddenly, a noise of hunters was heard, and a band of spirits in the shape of dogs swept along, and set upon the 3 guilty men, chasing them about, while Prospero and Ariel urged on the dogs. "Hey, Mountain, hey! Silver, there it goes, Silver! Fury, Fury, there, Tyrant, here, hark, hark!" When Caliban, Stefano and Trinculo had been driven away, Prospero spoke to Ariel. "Let them be hunted soundly. Now all my enemies lie at my mercy. My labours will soon be ended, and then thou shalt be as free as air. Follow me still for a little, and do my service. Now tell me, how fares the king and his followers?"
"Just as you left them, all prisoners, sir, in the grove of trees which shelters your cell. They cannot stir until you release them. The king, his brother, and your brother are quite distracted, and their lords are mourning over them, and chiefly he whom you termed the good old Lord Gonzalo. Your charm affects them so strongly that if you beheld them now, you would pity them."
"Dost thou think so, spirit?"
"I would, sir, if I were human."
"And I will," said Prospero. "Now that they are penitent, my purpose is accomplished. Go release them, Ariel. I'll break my charms, I'll restore their senses, and they shall be themselves."
"I'll fetch them, sir,"
said Ariel, and he gladly hastened away to do his master's bidding. Left alone, Prospero took a solemn farewell of all the powers of magic which he had practiced for so long, and declared that after one last charm which he was now going to work, he would break his wizard's wand and drown his book. When Ariel returned with Alonso, Sebastian and Antonio and the lords in waiting, they all entered a charmed circle which Prospero had made, and stood there unable to move. "There stand for your spellbound," said Prospero. "O good Gonzalo, my true preserver and loyal servant to your master, I will pay you both in word and deed. Alonso, most cruelly did you use me and my daughter. Your brother helped you in the deed. He is punished for it now. You, brother mine, unnatural though you are, I forgive you." While Prospero was speaking, the king and his companions slowly began to recover their senses, but they did not yet recognize Prospero, for he was clad in his magic robes. "Fetch me the hat and rapier in my cell, Ariel," he said. "I will discard these garments and show myself as when I was Duke of Milan. Quickly, spirit, thou shalt be free ere long." Gladly, Ariel set to work, singing a gay little song as he helped to attire his master.
Where the bees suck, there suck I. In a cowslip bell I lie. There I couch when owls do cry. On the bat's back I do fly. After summer merrily, merrily, merrily shall I live now, under the blossom that hangs on the bough.
Then Prospero sent him to find the king's ship and to bring back the master and boatswain. Poor old Gonzalo was greatly amazed and troubled at all the strange things that were happening.
"Some heavenly power guide us out of this fearful country," he exclaimed.
"Behold, Sir King, the wronged Duke of Milan, Prospero," said the magician to Alonso. "To give thee more assurance than a living prince speaks to thee, I embrace thee, and bid a hearty welcome to thee and thy company."
"Whether thou be he or not, or some enchanted trifle to torment me, I do not know," said the bewildered king. "Thy pulse beats like flesh and blood, and since I have seen thee, my madness has abated. I resign thy dukedom and entreat thy pardon for my wrongdoing. But how can Prospero be living and be here?" "Welcome, my friends all," said Prospero. "But you, my brace of lords," he added, aside to Sebastian and Antonio, "if I were so minded, I could make his highness frown on you and prove you traitors. At this time, I will tell no tales." "The devil speaks in him,"
muttered Sebastian, conscious of his guilt. "No," replied Prospero quietly. "For you, most wicked sir," he said to his brother Antonio, "I forgive all your faults and require my dukedom of thee, which perforce I know thou must restore."
"If you are Prospero, tell us how you were saved and how you have met us here," said the King of Naples. 3 hours ago we were wrecked upon this shore. Alas, where I have lost, how bitter is the remembrance, my dear son Ferdinand."
"I am sorry for it, sir," said Prospero.
"The loss can never be made up, and is past the cure of patience."
"I rather think you have not sought the help of patience," said Prospero. "For the like loss I have its sovereign aid, and rest myself content."
"You, the like loss?"
"As great to me, for I have lost my daughter."
"A daughter?" cried Alonso. "Oh, would that they were both living in Naples as king and queen. When did you lose your daughter?"
"In this last Tempest," said Prospero, smiling to himself. "But come, no more of this. Welcome, sir, this cell is my court. I have a few attendants here, and no subjects abroad. Pray you, look in. Since you have given me back my dukedom, I will reward you with something equally good, or at least show you a wonder which will content you as much as my dukedom does me." And drawing aside the curtain which veiled the entrance to his cell, Prospero disclosed to view Ferdinand and Miranda playing at chess.
"Sweet lord, you played me false," said Miranda.
"No, my dearest love, I would not for the world," said Ferdinand. "If this prove a vision of the island, I shall lose my dear son a second time," murmured Alonso. "A most high miracle," exclaimed Sebastian.
Though the seas threaten, they are merciful," cried Ferdinand, springing from his seat at the sight of his father, and falling on his knees before him. "Now all the blessings of a glad father compass thee about," said Alonso, overcome with joy to see his son again. Miranda, in the meanwhile, was gazing in wonder at all these strange visitors who had come to the island.
"Oh, brave new world that has such people in it,"
she cried in delight. "Who is this maiden?" Alonso asked his son. "Is she some goddess?"
"Sir, she is mortal and she is mine," answered Ferdinand. "I chose her when I thought I had no father. She is a daughter to the famous Duke of Milan, of whose renown I have so often heard."
Then Alonso gave his blessing to the young couple, and the good Gonzalo breathed a hearty "Amen." At this moment Ariel appeared, followed by the astonished master of the king's ship and the boatswain. They were overjoyed to see the king and his companions again, and brought word that the ship was as safe and bravely rigged as when they first put out to sea.
"Sir, all this service have I done since I left you," whispered Ariel to Prospero. "Was it well done?"
"Bravely, good spirit," said Prospero. "Thou shalt soon be free." Then he commanded him to go and take off the spell from Caliban and his companions, and after a few minutes' absence, Ariel returned, driving in the three men clad in their stolen apparel. "Mark these men, my lords," said Prospero. "These three have robbed me, and this witch's son has plotted with the others to take my life. Two of these fellows you must know and own. This thing of darkness, I acknowledge mine." "Is not this Stefano, my drunken butler?" said the King of Naples. "Well, how now, Stefano?" said Sebastian mockingly. "You would be king of this isle, sirrah?" demanded Prospero. I should have been a sore one then," groaned Stefano, for he and his worthless friends were still aching all over from the punishment inflicted on them. "That is a stranger thing as ever I looked on," said Alonso, pointing to Caliban. "His manners are as ugly as his appearance," answered Prospero. "Go, sirrah, to my cell, take your companions with you, and if you hope to have my pardon, behave properly."
"Aye, that I will," said Caliban, "and I will be wise hereafter, and try to be better. What a thrice double ass I was to take that drunkard for my master."
And he departed with his companions, glad to have escaped so lightly. Then Prospero invited the king and his other guests into his cell, where they were to rest for one night. The next morning they were all to set sail for Naples, where the marriage between Prince Ferdinand and Miranda was to take place, after which Prospero would retire to his own dukedom of Milan. Finally, he gave his last charge to Ariel, and bade him see that the king's ship should have calm seas and fair winds to waft it quickly on its way. "My Ariel, chick that is thy charge," said Prospero, "then be as free as the elements, and fare thee well."